All right, thank you, everyone. Call to order this January 9th meeting of the Sturgis City Council. It's the first meeting of 2025. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
Approve the agenda.
Approval agenda.
Approve the agenda.
I'm going to do that first this round.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're looking to approve the agenda. If anyone wants to make some additions or omissions to the current agenda, they do so now. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
First by Nick, second by Ruth. All those in favor of approving the agenda as it is indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. We don't have any announcements and praise today. It's after the holidays, so I think there's kind of a pause in many of the activities that are going on. So we'll continue to praise. And Jim, can you help us out?
I sure will, thank you. We have a group of pastors in Sturgis who meet every Wednesday to pray about the council, not necessarily for us, but for our city and for the issues that we faced and will face. And for one, I appreciate that. And I have called them on a couple of occasions, and one of their members will be here tonight, and we've asked if they would provide a prayer to begin the council. And so we're doing that with Brian Ross, who's the Calvary Baptist pastor, and he's agreed to do that. They're going to rotate on evenings. You can come right up here if you would, Brian, please.
Okay, let's pray. Father, I thank you for bringing us together. And Lord, I thank you for these folks that serve on the council, Lord. It's not an easy job. When things go right, they're ignored. And when things go wrong, Lord, they're attacked. And so, Father, I just pray that you'd give them your grace and your mercy and your peace. And I pray that you'd help them as they make decisions so that we can lead a quiet and peaceful life. And Lord, we know that they're members of this council, even though we voted for them, yet, Lord, you're the one that stirred it up so that they would stand up and say, I'm the one, and we voted for them. And so, Lord, we know that all things work together for your will and according to your glory. And so I thank you for this evening. I thank you for these folks, and please help them as they go forward in their task. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Brian. Item 5 on our agenda is non-agenda matters that may come before council. Is there anything from members of council that they want to bring up that is not already an agenda item? How about members of the public?
I got something to say. Just walk right up here.
Yeah, please come up, speak into the microphone and state your name first, please, because we have people that are watching.
Derek Hemingway. I was born here. I've been here for a long time. I graduated high school here. I built a family here. Up there at the school a few days ago, there was a picture taken of a snow pile by a city employee driving a plow truck that weighs 88,000 pounds, 44 ton. We're paying these people to drive around in our city vehicles, play on their phone in a school zone during school hours. There has to be consequences. The post caused all sorts of headache, but more importantly, there has to be consequences. Local law, our city handbook, it says we encourage our employees to pull over and find a good place to use their phone while they're driving an 88,000 pound vehicle. We encourage it. State law says it's prohibited. Period. Illegal. Federal law says with a CDL they can be fined $2,750 and lose their CDL. The post said it's for children's safety. How safe is it to have this guy driving around playing on his phone during school hours in a school zone? And city equipment. Right here in the handbook it says the vehicles are the highest publicity profile that the city has. Everybody's driving them and everybody sees it. And yet this person is driving in our school zones, screwing around on his phone during school hours. Surely there has to be consequences. Laws are put in place for a reason. You break the law, you get punished.
Yeah, Derek, I spoke with you today about this and to kind of,
Very constructive meeting.
to,
Good man, for the first time in a long time, Sturgis has a glimmer of hope. Looks you in the eyes, shakes your hand, means what he says. I've seen it.
we had a discussion, and what the situation was is there was a photo. It didn't show anyone's home. It was a photo of a snow pile that Public Works Department posted about pushing snow into the right-of-way.
It was city snow that was pushed up in the city right away. It was never private snow, but all of that's irrelevant. We're here to talk about the laws that were broken, the policies that were broken, the rules that were broken, and now what are the consequences?
Yeah.
In a school zone during school hours, 88,000 pounds, 44 tons they weigh loaded.
Derek, so that's a personnel item, and I addressed it with the Public Works Director,
Yep.
and we'll work through this process.
Absolutely.
And,
A week is what we discussed. I just thought that it should be brought to everybody's attention. The community, who all of us take our kids up there, this guy's driving around 88,000 pounds. Do you understand that? In our school zone, during school hours.
So we've got a process that we're going to work through with it. We'll definitely come back to you. Hopefully there is some resolution.
There has to be.
I agree, but until we get through the process, you know, please bear with us.
Amen.
Okay,
Good meeting you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else that,
Don't forget your cap.
No, I gotta keep it covered up.
Well, I won't be quite as vocal, but it does have to do with snow. I'm Steve Anders, living in Sturgis, been here forever, almost as long as most of you, probably longer than some of you. Anyway, it does have to do with snow. My thing is, we want to invite people to our community, right? Obviously. And we want to invite people to stay in our community, or to possibly even do business and or work in our community, or live here. And coming down Junction tonight, I would say at least half of the sidewalks were not shoveled, were not had the snow removed. I get it, it's only 24 hours or so past our deadline. I suppose the ordinance says probably 24 to 48 hours. But there has been multiple times that I've driven around after that length of time has surpassed only to find sidewalks that haven't been shoveled. And even then, sometimes those that are or those that aren't, the intersections, and I don't want to put anything more on Rick and his crew, and I know they got, but if I'm a handicapped person, how can I get from point A to point B if I don't have the sidewalk shoveled? And if the curb stops aren't, or the curbs aren't accessible for handicaps coming up and down Junction, I got to go in the roadway on half those blocks at least. And I think that probably somebody just knocking on a door, like Kevin and I had a conversation the other day about knocking on somebody's door, I think that could do a lot of good. And maybe if anybody's listening on YouTube or Facebook, maybe we can shame a few people into doing it and getting out their duff and go shoveling their sidewalks. So that's all I got.
thank you, Steve. I mean, it has been interesting, the snow that we've had, the wind that's going on. I think a piece of that can go to a portion as well that Councilor Thompson has been talking about, and that's neighbors helping neighbors. I mean, we've got some people that are elderly, and you know, maybe they've had surgery, maybe there's something going on, and so maybe we can help our neighbors work through the snow removal process. But certainly, it's up to us to make sure that our ordinances are followed and that our streets and sidewalks are safe. So, thank you, Steve. Bonnie, would you like to?
Bonnie Albert Sturgis, and I wouldn't have thought to say this otherwise except the comment that just came up. I have spent major portions of the last few days relocating snow. I don't know that we're getting any new, but it's changing places. And today, this evening, I got out about 4:30 and was finally able to get my car out and did it by taking a run over the berm. And I'm not complaining about the berm. I mean, that's my job, to break down the berm. But I came back home and parked parallel on the street. And when I got out of my car to go in my driveway, because I didn't want to take a chance of sticking myself back in there, somebody had swung by and cleaned out my berm in the end of my driveway for me while I was gone. So I just want to say the other side. And I have no idea. I have a couple of neighbors with bobcats, and it wasn't, at first I thought somebody had run over it with their tires for me. That's what it looked like right at first, and then I looked closer and I thought, no, somebody got me with their bobcat. So if they're listening, thank you. I don't have any idea. I'll have to go knocking on the doors of my bobcat neighbors, but somebody did clean me out while I was gone.
Good Samaritan. Our community's strong, isn't it? Thank you.
Well, and I have usually snow blown the rest of the neighborhood by now, but my car had the snow blower locked in.
Is there any other items that are non-agenda that someone wants to speak about? Okay, we'll continue on away from non-agenda items, and the council will become the Board of Canvassers. Tuesday, the 7th of January, the city of Sturgis hosted an election. We had a total of 6 candidates in 2 wards that were on our ballots. We appreciate everyone that put themselves out there to help build their community and be the change or be the direction that their community is looking for. And so what we're doing tonight is we will open the results. We will canvass those results. Once we approve that, that starts a period of, and make sure that I don't mess up on this, 5 days that there could be a recount. We have 1 race that could potentially have a recount in it. After 5 days, if we don't have a recount, we'll start moving towards the process of swearing those new counselors in. And the plan is to do that on the meeting of the 21st of January. Please note that the 21st of January is a Tuesday, and the reason that we're having the meeting on Tuesday is because of the Martin Luther King Day holiday on Monday the 20th. So with that, I'm going to open the official poll book results and pass it around to the Board of Canvassers here to review. If I can open it, this thing's sealed. Yeah, it doesn't have one of those, yeah. This is Ward 3. And Ward 1. We have many of our candidates in the audience tonight.
He's got the sheet, doesn't he? Is there another one?
Pardon me?
The sheet that has the counts and everything.
I have the sheet, yeah. I'll let, you need to pass that to
know,
the
but-
next. You want to see that? Everybody seen Ward 1? And you've seen 1 and 2? Or 1 and 3, excuse me. No, it's 1. Okay, is everyone satisfied with the review of the election results? So with that, the official canvass results are Alderperson Ward 1, 69 votes for USERRA, 67 votes for Klima. For Alderperson Ward 3, 75 votes Chaplin, 61 votes Brooke, 50 votes Murtha, and 47 votes Dempsey. We all in agreement? In the past, I've seen this done 2 ways to continue. Sometimes there's been a motion in our history, sometimes there hasn't. I'll leave it up to the council on how they want to proceed.
Well, given item 6.1, I'll motion to approve the canvassing of the votes as read.
I'll second that.
A first by Ruth to approve the canvass as presented, a second by Jim. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the canvass indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Our finance officer ran a very smooth election. Good work. And again, thank you for those candidates that put themselves out there to help build community. Continuing on, we are exiting our Board of Canvassers, and we're on to Mayor's Report. 7.1, the item to be considered here is the mayor's appointment of Ann Bertolato to serve as City Finance Officer. Ann has been our interim finance officer now for, and how long's it been? In October. She has done good work. Is continuing the forward motion of our city finance office, and it is my recommendation and ask that the council approve her appointment as finance officer for the 2025 year.
Mr. Mayor, I heartily approve and recommend that we vote her permanent finance officer.
Very good. So that's your motion, Jim?
That's the motion.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? And you don't get to back out. Okay, with no further discussion, all those in favor of the appointment of Ann Bertolato as the City of Sturgis City Finance Officer indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed, no. Thank you. Item 7.2. I think we'll swear everybody in at one time. Is that okay? Item 7.2 is consideration to approve the mayor's appointment of Aaron Jordan to serve as city administrator and authorize the mayor to sign the employment agreement between Aaron Jordan and the city of Sturgis. This has been a position that has been vacant since our form of government change following the April 2024 election. It is a position that was truly created when the city council approved our Title VII ordinance, and is the end result of a process that started where the city asked for applications. Those applications were received. They were vetted by the full council as to who their top candidates were. Interviews were held of the top candidates because of open meeting laws. We held interviews with the Legal and Finance Committee that included myself, Councilor Kopp, and Councilor Thompson. Those were recorded via Zoom and distributed to the remaining, or the rest of the council for their evaluation. The candidates were asked the same questions. And after everyone had a chance to review the questions, review the video, the council then provided their top 2 candidates. When it came down to the top 2 candidates, the overwhelming majority was for candidate Aaron Jordan and his skill set. He was then nominated by me. I mean, I'm taking a step back. Previously in this meeting chamber and at a candidate forum, I shared that we were going to have open interviews with these candidates, and it became apparent that there was one candidate that was far above the rest. It also became apparent that we were somewhat setting up our candidates to have a quasi-political debate, if you will, or forum that was not fair for them for a non-political appointed position. That process was created by me. I'll own the change of venue. It truly was a piece of me trying to blend a process that was in place under city manager with the state laws that matched the city administrator appointment process. We have, I believe, consensus, and I hope the council will back me on the appointment of Mr. Jordan for this position. You know, I've had a few people ask me, well, haven't you known Aaron for a long time? Isn't he a friend of yours? Well, he certainly is. Aaron's been a friend of mine since kindergarten. And it's for that reason. It's for the reason of competing against each other in gym class and on sports fields. Watching him grow, not just his family, but his career, his leadership, and his ability to build community, that I am absolutely certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that he is the best candidate for this position today. To add to that, when I reached out to the final list of candidates, the second place candidate told me I was just getting ready to let you know that I was pulling my application. So the decision in my mind is sound. I certainly own it. I certainly own the adjustment in process, and I would open the floor to discussion on this nomination. Is there anything from council that you'd like to talk about on this?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would add is I want people to be absolutely aware that all of us up here in the discussion, having the visibility of the process is important to us. We understood what had happened in the past. We wanted there to be complete openness to the public. And so there was that was probably part of the reason that we considered a forum, was we wanted to have the public have a chance to see that. But in the end, and I think the mayor is right, in the end, the way the law is written is that it's an appointment by him, and if we had gone ahead with a forum, then that would leave perhaps the idea that the public, it could have very clearly slowed down the process. And we're in a position in Sturgis where we've made great progress. I'm very proud of this group and the people that what they've done, and I think we have worked very hard to make sure that we are visible, that all the things that are done, we try to share that with the public and take input from the public, and I think this is exactly right, the way it went. And though you say you own it, we have your back on that one, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments from council?
I would just like to add some more to the mayor's statement about his decision nominating or appointing Aaron for this position. I have not known Aaron since kindergarten. I've known him maybe a year, probably less than that. And having been in the private sector for many years and hired people and interviewed people and had an understanding of different organizations, whether it's private or public, Aaron has proven to, at least in my opinion, over the last year, but also in the time that I've known him, but also during the interview process, to have the qualifications and the skill set to be in this position. So I wanted to make sure that since I was on that panel and wanted to also add some more color to that conversation and to the appointment, that it is bigger and more than just having known Aaron for his entire life. So wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth. I actually, to be honest, as a person that I've known for over 5 decades, I'm not trying to date anyone here. Yeah. There was some things that I was certainly not aware of. A Bachelor of Science in Social Science, Master of Science in Administrative Studies, the Master of Science in Strategic, Planning. And those are just the skill sets that we need to continue our forward momentum right now. I think before we get any further along, Aaron, would you be interested in saying anything?
Can I say?
Certainly.
I served with Aaron on council. I've seen what Aaron's done in the community with people and going like to Kiwanis and all that. And I spoke to a lot of people, and I have to agree with what I've been getting from feedback is the structure that we need right now is the structure that Aaron is going to bring to this position. And I support Kevin 100% on this nomination for our new city administrator. So, thank you.
Quickly before you start, I've known Aaron for, I don't know, when I was young and joined the National Guard. Aaron was a lower level leader at
I was
that
his
time.
company commander, by the way. So
A lot of times those guys aren't liked by the rank and file guys, and Aaron was overwhelmingly liked. The people skills Aaron brings is second to none. A great leader, smart. I can't say enough good things about Aaron Jordan, and I fully support the appointment.
Well, I hope this was recorded because I'd like to have my wife hear this. I mean, no, my name is Aaron Jordan. I grew up here in Sturgis, as Kevin pointed out. We've known each other for a long time, but I would say our relationship really became a lot closer here probably 4 years ago when we were both coming on to city council. And both of our mentors, our government teacher, Francie Rubel Albers, was the person that really encouraged me to get involved, I guess, in the happenings and what's going on in Sturgis. And she really encouraged me to get on the council. Now, I'd been in the National Guard and been on active duty for 35 years and just had retired. And I would tell you, I had a great idea what was going on around in the world, but I really didn't have much of an idea what was going outside my front door. And so I really kind of welcomed the opportunity to be actually, again, continue to serve and get to know my community in a way that I had never had the opportunity to do before. And but I didn't really come in with the agenda other than one of the things I've always felt that, and every community has this, there's always division in any community. But I always felt we had maybe an extra level of a division. And really my goal was to try to make a difference in how we could become a more united community. That doesn't mean 100%, but just, to be more united, that we're all kind of know where we're at as a community in terms of what we are and have an idea collectively of what we want to be in the future. And so that was where Kevin and I really kind of bonded over that kind of vision and kind of what can we do to achieve that. The key thing was trust. How do you achieve trust? Transparency, being honest and upfront. And those were the things that really motivated me, to be on council and actually have a really wonderful time in those 3 years. I've been a defense contractor. I'm gone about 3 to 4 months a year. Not as much when I was on council, but I was looking for opportunities to be able to continue to serve our community. Now, I didn't anticipate this really happening. I thought I could be on a planning and zoning. I was on the forestry committee for a long time, so I had some insights there. But when this came up, and sometimes, at least in my life, there's things have happened to me that at the time I didn't really want to happen, but at the end of the day, it's like, that was probably the best thing for me. God put me in the right place, and I had grown from those experiences. And so I'm sitting here, and I do have, I'm not saying I'm the greatest leader in the world, but I have a lot of leadership experience. And probably what's made me successful is that I like people, I respect people, I treat people like I like to be treated. And, I felt maybe I could make a difference in this role. Now, I'm no expert. Even in the military, what they hired me to do was to manage experts. And as I did that, I usually became pretty competent in those different areas. And that's kind of my expectation of myself. There's never been anybody that's more critical of me than me. I'm never satisfied with my own kind of performance. But, I do look forward, serving our community. I understand this is a different position than what we had before as a city manager. That was as chief executive and a chief administrative officer. And before that, we had a mayor that was a chief administrative and chief executive. This is the first time we split those responsibilities into two positions. So we have an opportunity to be able to determine what that relationship looks like long-term in some kind of structure that regardless of the personalities and the skill sets and the people that come into these positions, we can build something that can last and have some legs and can serve our community in the long term. So I'm pretty flexible. I recognize that, Kevin and I grew up together. I've known a lot of you for a long time, about a year for Ruth. But, in the past, we've been peers, and now I'm your subordinate. And I recognize that. And so you are the decision makers. And my job is to help run the day-to-day activities with the great staff that we have, and a lot of the great staff that are not here anymore that have left us here recently. But also is to be able to help you guys make great decisions, right? Is to provide information, provide some analysis, and that's not all coming from me. That's probably come from Jody. That's coming from Rick, and that's coming from all the other folks that are senior people in our city staff. And so those are the things that I'm looking forward to do, and I think we have a great team. We're going to continue strengthening our foundation, build back our full-time force, build our capacity and, get our finances and have a better understanding of that, get those strong. Because as we develop this comprehensive plan, that's going to be able, as we engage with the people to develop that plan, we're going to have an insights on where we want to be in 10, 20 years. And so if we build this foundation, we set the conditions so we can achieve that outcome. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. One quick question before you leave. So we've got many goals on the horizon. The goals for me are pretty straightforward. We're definitely pressing to get our ordinance adjusted, get our wage and salary pieces done. There's items on our agenda we'll be discussing a little bit further into the agenda. Get our policy and procedures pulled into line. And one of the hardest things about going through the interview process was that, and the strongest piece for you, other than you were already the strongest candidate, but that you're going to be able to accomplish something in the first 6 months where someone from the local candidate pool, if you will, comes with skill sets that will allow them to be effective from day one rather than taking the first 6 months to get moved to the community, learn the staff, learn the council, learn the ordinances, learn the community. And in the process where we've been without the level of leadership that you're going to help provide for nearly 2 years, this is exactly where we need to go. I hope you're ready to push.
Push, pull, go sideways. I would agree. I mean, there's a lot on our plate, and there's even more priorities out there beyond just the list that you just annotated that you and I had talked about over the last several weeks. Let's just roll up our sleeve and take every day at a time, and each day we're moving forward on completing those tasks. And part of this is, I like to echo what two of the counselors said. Counselor Thompson here, I think a meeting or two ago, I think was talking with Bonnie about that. We've turned the corner, right, and we're moving in the right direction. Now, have we got everything, the foundation completely solidified yet? No, but we're moving in the right direction. And then here about a year ago, when Councilor Blakeman was running for office at the Candidates Forum, one of the things that he left at the end of it was that, hey, we're going to move forward, and we're going to work really hard, but we need your patience. And I would say I would echo those two messages. We have a lot to do. But we do have to exercise some patience because we have to manage expectations and trying to achieve a lot of things in a short period of time. But I know the team that we have. I've talked to Rick Bush. I've had conversations with Jody, and I think everybody's on board with those priorities, and that's the key thing. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Does anybody from the public like to make a comment? Dave, please come up to the.
I'm not Dave Murtha. I can't tell. I'm not. Dave Murtha. I wanted to have the opportunity to speak on behalf, or speak on the person you're going to hire, Mr. Jordan. I seen what was going on Facebook, but I want to let all of you know you are making the right decision. I served 26 years underneath this man in his leadership role in the South Dakota Army National Guard. And I'm telling you that he is the man that we need to lead this organization, or our city. And the reason why I have so much respect for this officer when I was in uniform is because he had an open door policy. And if you know anything about the military structure, you have all these people you got to go through to get to those officers. Aaron Jordan had an open door policy where you could go talk to him from an NCO's, my level, to his level, shut the door and have a conversation. And I'm very proud of this individual and his family. He sacrificed a lot. Him and I spent a lot of Saturday mornings at the Sturgis Armory working on our own time. He'll do the same thing for this city. And I just can't express it enough to all of you to support this. Because I'm one person in uniform, and I'm telling you, he has all the skills that we need right now at this time and to lead us forward. And the employees that he is going to be managing are going to absolutely love this guy because of his way that he can manage people and advise and do great things. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council representatives, and to support, 100% support his nomination for this position. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
My name's Jade Addison. I'm Ward 3. I live here in Sturgis. Mr. Jordan, from the citizen point of view, when he served as our city councilor, what I observed, he was always well prepared. He asked hard questions. He wasn't afraid to vote no on subjects that he believed didn't serve the greater good of the community of Sturgis. And I will support him 100% as a citizen of Sturgis without knowing all the political ins and outs. But I do believe he has a servant's heart and will serve for the greater good.
Thank you, Jade. Is there anyone else that wishes to make a comment?
Mr. Mayor, may I just add this quickly? We all understand that it isn't just a resume. It isn't just the person that speaks here. It's the results that we're looking for. And I think based on what I know about our mayor and about those of us that are here now, and especially with not a year that I've known Aaron, but certainly one that I've learned to respect him, the results are what we will ask you to, if you're going to judge, that'll be the case. And we'll look forward to those results because all of us are there. The most frustrating thing for me when I first came on as a businessman is waiting 2 weeks for anything to happen. And so it's nice to have action. And we find that with Kevin, and I do know that Aaron's in the same situation. So I look forward to the results.
Thank you, Jim. Any further comments from council or the public? With that, I'd ask for the council to consider this appointment.
I would motion to approve the appointment of Aaron Jordan as the city of Sturgis, South Dakota's very first city administrator.
I'll second.
A first to approve the appointment by Tony, a second by Ruth. All those in favor of this appointment indicate by stating yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion was unanimous. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this time now to swear in both of these appointments and our city administrator. Flag in the picture, that's what we need. All right, well, this will be two pieces because it specifies a name. Aaron, I'll start with you. Aaron, state, all you have to do is say I do, and we'll take the easy way around that. Having been appointed as city administrator of the city of Sturgis, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of South Dakota, the ordinances of the city of Sturgis, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of city administrator and render a true account of all money, accounts, credits, and property of any kind that shall come into my hands as such officer, and pay over and deliver the same according to law.
I do.
Thank you. Ann. I, Ann Bertolato, having been appointed as finance officer for the city of Sturgis, Meade County, South Dakota, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of South Dakota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of such office and render a true account of all monies, accounts, credits, and property of any kind that shall come into my hands as such officer, and pay over and deliver the same according to law.
I do.
Outstanding, thank you. Aaron, you have to have you sign this piece here. And Ann. I've got a pen for you. Oh, it's on my desk. Thank you.
That's what my boss told me.
Okay, continuing on to the rest of the mayor's report. Items 7.3, 7.4, 7.5 are just payroll additions and changes. We've got one for an EMT, another for an EMT, and one for front desk attendant at the community center. There's no action needed on those. Item 8 is our consent agenda. We have only 3 items, but within item 8.3, as many of our housekeeping resolutions that dictate who can sign documents, who can sign leases, construction easements, special events, requests, rally rentals, contracts, authorizing write-offs, and setting compensation for election board. Is there anyone that wishes, anyone from the council that wishes to remove any of these items for consideration separately? How about members of the public wish to remove items from the consent calendar to be considered separately? Hearing no request to consider items separately, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
First by Jim, second by Nick to approve the consent agenda. 3 items, 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed state no. The consent agenda has been approved. Item 9 is claims. Has the council had a chance to review the claims for the last 2 weeks? Another fairly large expenditure. $700,000, I think, was the.
792.
Any questions about the claims?
Mr. Mayor, may I just ask, I don't know if this is the place, but for the crowd to know that you now, as mayor, no longer are a voting member of the council, so we have just 5 of us that are voting, is that correct?
That is
And then when we
correct.
swear in 2 more, we'll have 7, but there still will leave a vacancy in your ward. We discussed tonight.
Well, that's certainly not part of the claims, but I'm willing to talk about that very briefly.
I was just waiting for you to look.
The council will have the ability, and it is the council, not my position, that will have the ability to discuss the open Ward 4 seat. By our ordinance, we are too close to a normal municipal election to make have an election for that, which, I mean, that's kind of ironic that we just had an election and that we could have another one. But it would be up to the council to decide if they want to pursue an appointment. My opinion is by the time we went through the process to take the applications, we would be so close to our April election, it would be a little bit difficult to be open and transparent. We'd be potentially influencing the next election, possibly, maybe not.
Ward 4 will have a vacancy until April probably, or May.
Ward 4, which is my ward, will have a vacancy. I hope the residents of Ward 4 understand that the process appears to be more streamlined without making that appointment, and that we'll make sure that Ward 4 is represented as openly and steadfast as possible. Circling back to, you had two questions, Jim. The second was, at this point in my position, I no longer vote unless there's a tie, and I'm not able to vote on items of finance. If there was a tie there in one of these contracts, I will not have the ability to break the tie, and so if there was a tie, and obviously there's 5 of us right now, or 5 of you right now, so we shouldn't have that. But if we're ever in that situation, a tie would mean a failed motion.
The reason I brought that up was that I'd been asked on several occasions, frankly, because of the recent election, what would happen. And so I thought it was a good idea to bring it up tonight to let people know.
Thank you, Jim. Back to the claims. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with the items on the claims? If you notice on the claims, there's a few that appear to be redundant. They're the same amount of money to the same vendor. They've all been verified as separate invoices, and part of what our obligation to pay is. So if anyone would have a question about a few of those that appear that they could be redundant, they have been communicated and proven to not be so. Anybody from the public have any questions on the claims? Hearing no questions from council or the public on the claims, is there a motion to approve the claims?
I'll motion to approve.
First by Ruth, second by Jim to approve the claims. I think we're going to go ahead and roll call this just to, there's a few of us, and we'll get through. We'll hopefully be unanimous because I believe that we need to be all 5 to pass this at this point. So, Nick, do you approve?
Yes.
Jim? I do. Ruth?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
That was 5 votes to approve the claims. Thank you. Continuing to item 10, reports. 10.1 is consideration to approve resolution 2025-10, the final plat for lot 6A and 8A of McMillan's East Addition. The address is 727 Sherman Street, so that's East Sherman. Anybody have any questions or concerns over the replat of this property? Normally, we would have a little bit of a presentation, but some of our team is in training, and so the splitting of an existing single property into 2 that meets all of the city ordinances for size and shape. Is there any
Planning and
questions?
zoning approved it, so they were
Planning
good
and
with it
zoning
too.
has approved this.
Well, with that, I would motion to approve resolution 2025-10, final plat.
A first by Tony to approve resolution 20. Jim, those in favor of this motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion is carried unanimously. 10.2 is consideration to approve resolution 2025-11. Final plat for Lot 1R, Lot 2R, lots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and well Lot 8, South Side Addition. This area is on what was known as the Richards property. This is the plat that splits out some lots that are to be transferred per the purchase agreement of that property to the Dave Richards family and the city's well lot. The city has drilled, maybe some people have noticed, up along the east side of Vanacker Road out by Waring Motors. The drilling rig is out there. The work is continuing on some of the pipelines, and I think this spring the well house will be completed. And so this plat allows us to continue and close out the obligations the city has with the purchase agreement with the Richards property, which was originally part of the Aquatics Park plan, and allows us to proceed with other action. Is there any discussion on this?
This was as projected and finished as projected. Is that correct with our vote?
This was finished with the discussion that has previously been had, correct. Anybody from the public have any comments on this? This, by the way, was also approved by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Rochelle Brook, Ward 3 resident. I actually have some questions, and they might be too early on, so you can stop me and say, hey, this can be answered at a later date. I am part of Planning and Zoning, and we did approve the plat as is, but I didn't think these questions pertain to our scope. I just have, so with the remaining lot, 1R, with the 7 additionals, how much of that is planning or is talked about being sold to the school as an option for them?
Well, the city retains, well, a total of 48 acres plus 17 acres, in the two pieces that are there. After this plating would take place, and I guess I'm omitting the well lot as well, which we would continue to own. And right off the top of my head, I guess I could pull that up and we could look. But, as far as the school district, it has very, very limitedly been discussed.
Yeah, and I know this
that,
is very early. I just kind of want to get some thought process on this ahead of time and kind of.
In fact, the school still has a letter of intent that they've asked us to consider for some property at the fairgrounds,
Okay.
which was tabled back in late 2024 until the meeting on the 21st of January. So, that consideration will be then. As far as your question of what's left potentially that would go to the school, there's 17 acres on the west side of the creek between the Vanacker Drive and the creek.
Yep.
That could potentially find a use, and it certainly seems very appropriate because of its proximity near good access to I-90, good access onto Junction Avenue in an area of projected development in the future, those sorts of things. But obviously, those decisions will be made by the school board, whether or not they have a desire.
They want that 17. Would they take the entirety of lot 1R then, minus the 7 lots dedicated to the Richards property or to the Richards family?
Well, that would be up to them to discuss it. That does bring up a valid point that's going to be tied to a later agenda item is that generally items that need to be, that the city surpluses to private individuals. We have to go through a process by state law to declare them surplus, and then come up with a value, especially on property, and you know, work through whether it's public auction or how we dispose of it. By state law, there is an opportunity to another government entity to circumnavigate all of those pieces and do a direct transfer.
Okay. And then one of the other questions I had is the road being built for access to the well and is also going to be considered the infrastructure to those 4 back lots. Do we have a written agreement on what the term infrastructure means and the expectations from the Richards family and us as a city entity? Because sometimes a road being built isn't just constructed as infrastructure. City sewers and hookups would need to be there to lot lines too, or available to lots. So I'm just concerned of the budget increase, the budget that would take along to get this property to where it needs to go.
So water services will be in the right of way along the roadway because it's coming from
The well.
the new
The
well
well, yeah.
infrastructure. Sewer is within reasonable distance in the Van Acker roadway.
Okay. And I guess until we figure out how much, or if the school wants the land, my other questions can wait in the direction and the purpose of the property from the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Any additional discussions or questions on item 10.2, the consideration to approve resolution 2025-11? Do we have a motion to approve 2025-11?
I'll make that motion.
First by Jim to approve the resolution 2025-11.
I'll second.
Second by Nick. Any further discussion on this motion? Those in favor of the motion to approve resolution 2025-11 indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Well, that motion is carried. Item 10.3 is consideration to approve a contract with American Legal Publishing for recodification of the City of Sturgis Code of Ordinances. This organization has recently completed a recodification of the Spearfish ordinances. They did so very efficiently and what appears to be very streamlined. Our set of ordinances, many of them date from 1984. Many that actually had been addressed were addressed through the 2007 to today date range, primarily to make adjustments to inject city manager and the processes involving city manager, which city manager includes reference to state law that had specific duties as both the chief executive officer and the chief administrative officer of the city. And so following the April 2024 election, there's certainly a need to revisit all those ordinances for those reasons, to make those corrections. And this also gives us the opportunity to work through process to make corrections on any of the rest of those ordinances. The council obviously gets final say on every piece. They'll be involved heavily during the process. The contract amount is $15,490, of which we pay 50% up front and 50% when they're complete. And again, they've completed projects within our area and come highly recommended. Is there any discussion on this contract?
I'll just add that we did budget for this. Yes.
Yes, this is included in the 2025 budget. Anybody from public have any concerns or comments? Would there be a motion to approve this contract with American Legal Publishing for an amount of $15,490.
I'd make that motion to approve.
Second.
First by Jesse to approve the contract with American Legal Publishing for $15,490. Second by Jim. Those in favor of this motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That motion is carried unanimously. Item 10.4 is to approve a contract with Condrey and Associates for a job classification and compensation study. This is a budgeted for item. It was included in the 2025 budget. It will accomplish two things. The first thing that it will accomplish is it's a rewrite of our job descriptions. Again, since the April 2024 election, where we changed our form of government, we have job descriptions that indicate that they have city manager connection. We've also determined that we have job descriptions that we've fallen behind on. We've added duties to some people. We've not locked in on every piece of those. And the secondary goal of this is to complete a wage and salary or a wage study, a classification. This has connections to our different union contracts and the rest of our employees within the community, and gives us a sound platform to ensure that we are fairly and competitively compensating, but not overcompensating. And I'm not saying that we're below or above. We don't know until we complete this. The company Condrey and Associates has experience in South Dakota. They're actually out of Georgia. Their South Dakota experience includes the city of Aberdeen, city of Box Elder, city of Pierre, Brown County, city of Huron, city of Madison, Meade County, Minnehaha County, city of Mitchell, Pennington County, and city of Rapid City, and the city of Spearfish. So they certainly know our demographic and our area. Again, this is a budgeted for contract. That number is $39,500. Is there any discussion on this contract with Condrey and Associates? How about members of the public? Anybody have a comment? Hearing no questions or comments from either council or the public, I'm looking for a motion to approve the contract with Condrey and Associates for a job classification and compensation study.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
First by Nick to approve the contract for job classification and compensation with Condrey and Associates. Second by Ruth. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed, no. That motion was unanimous. Item 10.5. This is consideration to approve a contract with the state, the South Dakota Department of Transportation for purchase of Lot 2R of South Side addition to the city of Sturgis, Meade County, South Dakota. South Dakota DOT is interested in owning the southeast portion of the Richards property, Lot 2R. They have an offer of $981,950 for the 48-acre lot. Their intent is to recontour the site and use the fill dirt material on the I-90 corridor. over the next 5 years, possibly longer, but their project isn't going to happen. All their projects are not going to happen immediately. I believe we got a South Dakota DOT guy in the audience. Would you be interested in addressing this this consideration?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I am Mark Kirkaby with South Dakota Department of Transportation. What we have for your consideration is, Mayor stated, is to purchase Lot 2R for construction purposes. The construction activity right at the National Cemetery as a non-engineer is going to require an awful lot of dirt. And we're willing to take that financial risk and purchase this property. Our offer for your consideration is more than the actual independent fee appraisal value on it. Through the course of negotiations with your leadership team and with Mr. Bush, not only with that increased compensation, we also put in a couple of terms, I guess, on that agreement. You will grant us limited access across Lot 1R. The vast majority of our construction activity will in fact come over the railroad right away. That's a whole another department and getting the railroad's permission to do that. But also with that reclamation purposes, currently it's a pretty substantial hill. And I think at the end product, it's going to be a nice developable type of property. And just like you stated early with the, when we're done, we have to follow state law as well, even though the state's going to own the property as far as what we're going to do with that. But that provision that we have in there, following that completion, seeking the Transportation Commission's approval through the course of negotiations within our agreement, is to negotiate and provide that public access, non-motorized access, back to what I call Forest Service. I've ridden horses back there. So I think it's a nice public benefit as well. But again, financially, I think our compensation offer is fair, just, and reasonable. And to be honest with you, we need the dirt for construction purposes. And I would sit by with any questions you might have. Not only did I state, Mr. Mayor, that I'm a mayor, I'm also not an attorney, so please be kind to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. You know, it is important that you are going to need, you know, construction level access across our existing property to make some of these things happen, and there's an allowance within this agreement to make that happen. Also, I myself think it is super important to try and maintain public access to public land anytime we can, and it is not Forest Service further to the east, but that's actually Bureau of Land Management property, part of the Fort Meade Recreation Area, a 7,000 acre piece of property that's set aside for recreation use. That is pretty amazing that it's adjacent to our community.
If I could, just for the benefit of the council, the mayor was indeed the leader in having that provision put in on the agreement. There's absolutely no question about that.
Yes, we know.
I don't think that surprises anybody on the council. Mark, there is one other piece that I want to make sure that we understand clearly, and is, I mean, you're not digging a borrow pit, you're recontouring the property to get the material that you need. So it's not going to be a hole. It's going to be a well-shaped, well-thought-out recontour.
100% accurate statement, and I think the tape and the audio proves that. It's certainly, we are, like any other project, we try to be very good stewards of the trust that the taxpayers place into it. And certainly with any construction project or a borrow type source for dirt, nobody wants a phone call from future down the road, whoever our governor will be. I certainly don't need that phone call either.
Great.
Talk a little bit about how you did that out by the kickstand area there this year, right?
If I could, Mr. Kingston, you're talking east of Sturgis, or?
No, yeah, out by Pleasant Valley, there was a borrow area, it appears there along in the road ditch by the substation.
I was fortunate, my involvement with that, I just had to acquire some temporary easement. Like all government entities, there's an awful lot of people, the bureaucrats that work for us. I was not involved with that, but I do know that we did borrow some dirt from them and reclaim that as well.
Additionally, I think you made application to the BLM to use dirt off of their property. And the BLM Fort Meade Recreation Area is categorized as an ACEC, an area of critical environmental concern, which makes it virtually impossible for you to complete such a project.
Oh, absolutely. This, working with local government entities like yourself, the different county entities, state government. I mean, you certainly are aware of the environmental concerns that are impacted, the drainage considerations. There's an awful lot of fingers that get put into any plans and details. And the primarily purpose with this, there's not an awful lot of room to work at the National Cemetery exit. I mean, we certainly are not, we know what direction we cannot go with our new on-ramps and off-ramps. But the elimination from a safety perspective, just for my personal knowledge, I live in Rapid. My sister and brother-in-law have interest in one of the campgrounds off that area. That service road that is 10 feet away from the east driving lane on Interstate 90, the vast majority of that is going to disappear. For safety purposes, I think that's going to be an incredible asset, not only for the community, but certainly the Sturgis Rally.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. And that reconstruction of Exit 34 is one of the first projects that you'll use some of the material off of this property for if we get through.
That is correct, and if warranted, we'll get you a nice customized logoed bucket and get you a little sample of that dirt for you.
Yeah. I think your comment about safety on that and that interchange is important because a member of our community suffered a great many loss of their family through a fatality on that bridge there maybe a decade ago. So, yeah, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? Anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment. I want to tell you, Mark, thanks for coming up and explaining a little bit on your side what you're going to do and not do, because it's nice to hear that we're not going to have a crater when you're done with the property, and it will be a nice property to be sold or used in the future. So thank you very much for coming up.
Absolutely, and I do. I mean, whether it's a government entity or a temporary easement for a sidewalk on a residential street in Sturgis, I really value property rights. That's my background. But on the scope of things, on a 48-acre parcel, it's a significant purchase, and we do take a vested interest in valuing, first of all, acquiring your property and property rights, but we have to be very good stewards of that property as well. And I would foresee sometime down the road, especially, to be honest with you, with that section line right there, and with the investment that the city of Sturgis put in with their new water well, it's got a nice potential of being a nice development, with no question.
How many years down the road would you think that could happen?
I would say, just based on my experience with government and the Department of Transportation, I would say we're probably looking at the next presidential election before we get done with that. I would say it's 4 to 6 years.
4 to 6 years. And so I think that's an important talking point as well for the council and their consideration. There was an opportunity that we potentially could have just sold the dirt off of the property, but we maintained the investment during that period of time. And this this process brings forward a return on our investment by selling this back, and hopefully still the same outcome down the road.
Absolutely, because historically, that construction project, our engineers are going to say that it's a 2-year project. Well, I know it's going to be 3. I just got to be palms up with that. And any activity that we do on that interchange, it is going to be very seasonal. I mean, you certainly are not going to be tearing up anything at any bridge interchange on I-90 for 2 months out of the summer. I mean, that's just not going to happen. We can't impede commerce, and especially in this area, when you got hundreds of thousands of new people coming in for 3 weeks out of the year. And then that reclamation process and getting everything cleaned up, that certainly is going to be another solid year. Because when we're done, we cannot have the neighbors, we can't have calls from a neighbor saying that your property is full of weeds. We can't get a call from a neighbor saying that your drainage is coming down to our property. We have to take care of our dirt.
Right. So since we have you here and acknowledge that you're neither an engineer or an attorney, what all is the DOT doing between exit 34 and maybe exit 30 in the city? Do you expect the dirt to be used on interchanges only? Or are you at liberty to say?
Well, I know that there's a lot of things on radar. I mean, they certainly haven't hit the right-of-way office yet. I know there's some plans, but I don't know the exact exit number, but I call it Sturgis Jerky exit. With the National Guard sitting there, I know there's some negotiations. We have we're trying to help you guys diplomatically remove a tenant that's sitting right there. That's a government entity. That kind of needs to be done. But I do know that there's some cubic yards that are out there. We have a lot of dirt for a lot of exits. That's all I can say there.
Right.
And we're going to use it.
One of the talking points has been 3 lanes on I-90. Is there any truth in any of that?
Oh, absolutely. We started we got a whopping 1 mile in Rapid City from La Crosse Street to Haynes. I mean, anytime that we tackle, we're fortunate the taxpayers own an awful lot of right-of-way on I-90. We have room to put in another lane. With this project, I know the initial project phase going from the exit to National Cemetery, the preliminary ones do show that 3rd lane.
All right, thank you. Any further questions, Mark? Appreciate you coming today,
You're
Mark.
being awful kind, and again, I appreciate all of your time and consideration. And you know what we're seeking is your partnership with this. Once we get the agreement signed and everybody's happy, check will be in the mail within 6 weeks. Thank you.
Outstanding. Any questions or comments from the public on this consideration? Bonnie?
I'm going to do this chair so I can pop it down at the same time. Bonnie Alberts. 2 things. I didn't. It's green. Oh, it's just not bright green. Okay. I didn't quite understand the part about the access road that's close by there that you were talking about. What will become of that?
Temporary access.
Okay.
The ability to cross our property to get to their property, not on the paved road that we're developing that goes to our well.
Okay. And then I always have concerns. How does this all fit with the Richardsons and the original deal and the intent of the use of this property?
Well, we certainly had to, because it's contractual, have discussion with Dave Richards and gain his approval on the transfer of these 7 lots and the entire process. So they have voiced their approval of accepting the 7 lots that we approved the plat on in an earlier action by the council tonight, and have indicated that they're fine with the direction that's going.
So we're completely abandoning any hope of recreational use of this property?
Well, the city will retain 17 acres between the Vinacher Drive and the wooded creek that you can see as you look across that property.
Can you point for me? The 1R, and the boundary is the...
This is essentially the creek right here. This is the Vinacher, it's labeled Junction Avenue, it changes to Vinacher Canyon Road. What is it? This is Waring Motors. And the city of Sturgis, this was the property that was originally going to be used for the aquatics park. So the city of Sturgis will still own the property that was intended to be part of that. Although we've certainly publicly stated that there's no process going forward for creating that park.
And I understand that. And admittedly, I've never had a clear understanding of the plat pieces and the lay of the land, and I didn't get to go out that time that they went out and showed us the ground and looked at it. I didn't get to do that. But if that 17 that's left, and now you're talking about the school, is that in step with Richardson's wishes?
Well, there hasn't been any discussion with Dave on use of the property by the school, but there's certainly a strong community, has strong schools. David supports a strong community. I certainly would expect him to support having a strong community through having well located and well set up schools in a nice, safe environment. So.
Well, and I personally would much rather have the school there than on the Ballpark Road. That isn't the issue. It's honoring Richardson's intent when they started this whole process with us that concerns me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional discussion?
May I ask, it really isn't Richard's right to say no to the school, is it? It's not, we've bought the property and given him the plats, not trying to go against wishes, but that's not in the contract.
No, there's nothing in the contract that obligates us to do a specific thing. There was some discussion about donations and, different things like that. And I believe there's still some money that was donated by the Richards family, held by the Black Hills Community Foundation, that could be allocated by them when the right project comes.
But not necessarily on this land.
Not necessarily on this land. They could use it anywhere that they would deem appropriate.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Somebody be willing to make a motion on this this consideration to approve contract with the South Dakota Department of Transportation for purchase of Lot 2R of Southside Edition, 48 acres.
I make that motion to sell this property to the South Dakota Department of Transportation.
I'll second it.
There's a first by Jim to approve this consideration, second by Tony. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Those in favor of the motion to approve the contract for sale of 48 acres, Lot 2R to the South Dakota Department of Transportation indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed, no. That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Item 10.6, consideration to approve Meade County Jail Professional Medical Services Agreement. For a number of years, the Sturgis Ambulance has been working with the County of Meade in their correctional facility to provide medical services to the inmates in that facility. We renegotiated the contract in addition to carrying on the same level of service, the addition of doing blood draw work whenever there is a suspicion of a driving under influence or drug ingestion. And I could be wrong on the drug ingestion portion, but whenever there's a need to draw blood through the jail, that was a contract item that they contracted out for. That's a service that the ambulance service can do for us, and it results in roughly a $28,000 increase in the revenue that the ambulance service can generate out of this. This is a piece that this is City of Sturgis, but all the residents of City of Sturgis are also Meade County residents, so we pay Sturgis tax, Meade County property tax. So this is a positive in that it results in more revenue for our ambulance service and more efficiency for our county government, which is win-win for our residents. Anybody have any questions, concerns, or comments on the Meade County Jail Professional Medical Services Agreement?
Just a brief comment to commend Sean and the rest of the ambulance service and Jody on continuing to work hard on finding more revenue to offset the city's, I don't want to say costs, but funding for the ambulance service. So, great job.
Outstanding. Thank you, Ruth. Bonnie, you have a comment?
How much was this contract previously?
Good question. Let's see. You bear with me. It's $162,000 now. Somebody have their computer up that can search the iCompass site for that. I mean, we renewed this contract not long ago, so. Pardon me? How much is it increasing? Well, that was the question. I believe it was 125 the last time, but you know, I'm that's going off of my memory. I'd like to answer Bonnie's question as well, so.
And what brought it out was that this is, the jail contract is projected to generate an additional 162,000, but it's not an additional 162.
It is not. We've had that contract in place for a number of years.
Kevin, would it have been January of last year or sooner that we approved it?
I think it was actually a couple years ago that we did that. Apologize for the delay in the meeting flow here. I think it is an important question, though, that
Sean was here and we talked about it, I just don't remember the numbers.
Looks like possibly November 2023. Let's see if I can't get this open in order to answer the question here.
I didn't mean to make it messy. It's my middle name anymore.
Quick search. Black Hills Pioneer, November 2023, said that we approved a $135,000 contract.
Good work, Jim, Nick. So we're at 162.
27?
Yes. So, looks like the primary increase was due to the blood draw. And it wasn't 28, it was 27,000.
27,000.
Yeah, in the budget we passed, if you look back to the budgeted for 2023, it says 126, maybe? Meade County Jail and Hospital contract.
It's in the agenda for November 20th at 135, like Nick said.
Okay. Good question, Bonnie. Thank you.
Thank you for persisting to answer it.
Any additional discussion on the Meade County Jail Professional Medical Service Agreement? Somebody willing to make a motion on item 10.6, the professional medical agreement?
I'd move to approve.
I'd second.
First by Jesse, second by Nick to approve the Meade County Jail Professional Medical Services Agreement. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
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 Those opposed, no. That motion carried unanimously. Item 10.7. Consideration to approve the 2025 agreement between General Drivers and Helpers Union Local 120 affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters in the city of Sturgis. This is the union contract between primarily our city employees, with the exception of department, our public safety people. They operate a separate union. They have approved the city's offer. The city's offer is for a 1-year contract. It included a 3% cost of living allowance, which 3% was approved through our budgeting process. It also approved the 4.5% health insurance premium increase, and leaves us in a process that we have to work forward on. This is going to be tied pretty heavily to the Condrey wage and salary study, because there was heavy discussion through our unions about making adjustments to our pay scales, and we appreciate them working within the boundaries that we had, recognizing that we had budgetary constraints, and but we are trying to do a positive move. Does anybody have any comments about the union contract? Anybody from the public have a comment about our union contract? Somebody, Bonnie, will you come to the mic, please?
It's just getting harder. I was just wondering if there's a bottom line impact to our city budget on the, I mean, I'm not asking for details, but how is this new contract going to impact our city budget and rising to it?
Well, the impact was in the form of 3% of the wage portion in the budget. It hasn't been separated out.
But I don't know what 3% of what, so I don't know what that amount becomes.
Well, it's spread amongst streets, parks, finance.
It's segmented, so it's not an easy
It's
answer.
segmented, so it's,
Right, okay.
I did do the math when we were going through, and now again, this contract is not including the police officers, but as we worked through the budget process, it was determined that every 0.5% of COLA resulted in a $40,000 increase in the cost to the city. So 3%,
Is 6 times.
$240,000.
Okay.
Now, you can't hold that to gospel because city employees, that number.
Right.
And this contract does not include the police department. For the sake of transparency, the police department is asked to further negotiate, so there is not a contract. But in good faith, the city of Sturgis is paying the COLA amount to those employees.
Sure, okay, thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
Yes, it does. It's just, when we talk percents and I don't know percent of what, it doesn't have any meaning, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Someone willing to make a motion on the 2025 agreement between the General Drivers and Helpers Union?
I'll motion to approve.
We got a first by Ruth, a second by Jim to approve the 2025 agreement between the General Drivers and Helpers Union 120 affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters in the city of Sturgis. All those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That item is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11 is executive session. We have a need for executive session. We do not expect any action after executive session. The items that we are going to be discussing, we have a personnel item, a legal item, and a contract item to discuss. Those are all legal means for us to enter executive session for discussion on. It's 8:15. I expect it would take about 5 minutes for us to get into position. I want to remove ourselves from the room in the event that some of our audience wants to remain for when we come back and dismiss the meeting. Again, no expectation of action after executive session. And I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for those three items: personnel, legal, and contractual.
I'll make that motion and move into executive session.
First by Jim,
Second.
second by Jesse. Enter executive session for three reasons: personnel, legal, and contractual. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right, we'll go into executive session. We're going to go upstairs.
hotel so that if I make somebody mad, they
Right.
don't associate it with me and Kiet.
Right. And then
And then
winter
I
came.
thought, or except for when I started sitting right outside one of those hotel rooms, one of those people is probably gonna come out and Kiet.
The gal from Harley that put on the circus at the community center. Is she still with Harley, do you know? Is she?
I see that. I was checking to see what that was for. It must have
Oh,
some,
they all have them, I think. But
apparently, it's just that one sticks out.
It'd be nice, get some insight. I'm not looking for free passes, I'm not looking for, but just where to stay. I could talk to Sasha. He said it's Iron Horse or some hotel right next. So I Googled it, it's like an old time. So, but it'd be nice to talk to her. She lives there, she works there. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not looking for freebies or any of that. I wanna see serial number 001 before I die. So. No. We're gonna take a 6-day, take 2 days over, 2 days there. Well, I'm doing the $1 Million Highway, possibly doing the 101.
Mics are on, mics are on.
Okay, I am looking for a motion to exit executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
First by Ruth, second by Nick to exit executive session. We have no further action tonight, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
First by Tony, second by Nick. Those in favor of adjournment indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Times I was gonna go, yes, or